Hello, welcome to Taste and See with me. Today we are doing banana bread. Bananas tend to sometimes sit on our cabinet and we don't ever finish them, and they turn black and dark and get spots on them, and we sometimes throw them in the trash. But not today. Those are the perfect time to turn those bananas into something. We're making banana bread. As you can see, I already have my bananas smashed up. I have 3.5 bananas in here sitting with a little lemon juice to keep them from turning any darker. So we're going to get that set to the side. I'm going to start on low. And we want to start creaming our butter. I have a half a cup of butter. Most of the time I never measure unless I'm baking. Baking, I always want to be as close as possible to my measurements. So I'm going to take this up a little bit more. Trying to get it where you can see into it. I bought a new gadget so you can see what I'm doing. And it can hold my tablet for me. Turning it up a little bit. And we want to cream this with our sugar. It's supposed to be a cup of sugar, but when I do banana bread, I like to add a little bit of brown sugar. So I take the sugar mixture or portion of it and I break it down. So instead of a cup of white sugar, I did 3/4 of a cup of white sugar and 1/4 of a cup of brown sugar. So it still makes a cup of sugar. Get that added. And we want to cream that together until it's nice and fluffy. My KitchenAid, I love this thing. I love it, love it, love it. So I'm going to let this cream and come back and show you what it looks like before I add my eggs to it. Okay, let's take a look at it so far. See, it's getting a little bit better incorporated. The measure of butter that I put in here was 1 stick or a half a cup. A half a cup of butter. I use real butter. I don't use margarine when I'm baking. Now, what I give to kids is something totally different. But when I'm baking, and I know that I'm baking for someone else, I am using real butter. And like I said, this was a cup of sugar. I'm going to give it one more stir. Get all my ingredients off of there. Don't worry, my hands are clean. I washed them before starting. I hate to waste ingredients, so get that one more stir. Now I'm going to add my eggs. I have 2 eggs. I normally do 1 egg at a time. Get that one well incorporated. Add the next one. So far we have a cup of sugar, 1 whole stick of butter, or either half a cup of butter, whichever measurement you want to use. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to eyeball it. Looks about close enough. Turn it off. Scrape down the sides. You always want to keep scraping because your sugar and your butter tends to stick to the sides, or even Crisco or whatever you choose to use. It tends to stick on the sides. Get all that goodness off of there. I told y'all before I hate to have things on my fingers, so every time I scrape, you want to see me come over to the sink and wash my hands. I hate having things on my fingers. That's how I know I'm not a real chef. I'm just a cook. Okay, so everything is nice incorporated. Great. Perfect. Just where we want to be. We have our vanilla, our sugar, and our butter, and our eggs. Now it's time to add the mashed bananas. So we don't make a mess. I would hate to make a mess. on camera. Get all of that in. All of that yummy goodness. This recipe normally calls for 3 bananas, but the more bananas you put in it, it comes out a little bit more moist, so I added 3.5. And the more I change the recipe, the more it becomes mine. Get that going. Now, what I have here, while that's stirring, is 1.5 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of baking soda is in here. And it's all been sifted. I like to make my things, I like to sift my flour most of the time, because the more air you can get in it, the fluffier your baked products will be. Alright, so you see that. Now we're going to add this. Now, what you want to know is when you add your flour, you do not want to overbeat. Ever, ever, ever. Ever, ever. Ever, ever. Forever, ever. Never want to overbeat your flour once you add it to your mixture, because it will make it very tough. So we're going to get that well incorporated, and I'll be right back. This is the mixture that I'm looking for, the consistency I'm looking for. It's all just blended together, because I would like for this not to become dense. Like I said, the more you mix, the more you beat it, the more dense it becomes. Get all of my ingredients. Excuse me. Get off of there. Okay, I'm sure I won't miss that little piece that's left. So, take this off, scoop this. KitchenAids are heavy, but they're so worth it if you're going to be baking. So I just want to take it and fold it a little bit to make sure nothing is stuck to the bottom. And as I fold, I'm actually folding in a little bit more air into it. That's it. Okay. So now set that to the side. We all know that banana bread most of the time come in the loaf form. This was told to me by a dear friend, hey Sonia, to start using this, Baker's Joy. It's never failed me yet when I bake. I don't use anything else but Baker's Joy. Get it nice and coated. And what it is, it's a spray with flour. You know how grandmas used to butter down their dish and then take the flour and move the dish all around? Baker's Joy is what that is. I also, just in case it cooks a little higher, I cover my rim as well. I want to get this inside. Now with banana bread, you can do whatever you want. If you want to add nuts, some want to put nuts, some will add raisins. It all depends on you, but I'm making this for someone, and I didn't ask if they liked nuts in their banana bread. So this one will be without nuts. Voila. Now, my oven is already preheated, and it is, the temperature for the recipe says it should be 350, but I don't ever bake at the temperature the recipe says, because sometimes my oven tends to cook a little bit higher, and I have my oven set on 330, and I will sit this in there until it is ready and done. I'll be back. The banana bread is in the oven and it will bake for approximately an hour. You'll know when it's ready once it starts to rise and kind of crack up at the top. So once I start seeing that, I will come over and get a toothpick, test it to see if it's ready, and if it's ready, I will pull it out and allow it to cool. Once it's done, I will take photos and post it, and I may come back with a part 2 to this video. So just stay tuned, you never know. Thank you for watching Taste and See with me.